Hello, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of The Shift with Gina. This podcast, as you may know by now, is an accompaniment to my women's health and fitness group called The Shift. We host it on Mighty Networks for ladies only, sorry guys, where we do weekly workouts, weekly exclusive content, weekly recipe shares. We're always doing health challenges. We're currently in the middle of a squat challenge to help with not like barbell squats, but the deep resting squat to help with lower back pain, knee pain, overall mobility. So if you want to join, ladies, click the link in the description and join us. It's just a really great group where we can talk more about all things health, wellness, and culture from a woman's perspective. And this podcast is just an accompaniment to that to do some more long form content. So today we have three topics I want to talk about. The first one is a viral TikTok, which you may have seen by now, from a TikToker named J Bay Official. She labels herself a plus size travel advocate. A plus size travel advocate. So she is now demanding that the FAA protects plus size travelers by providing them an additional seat on an airplane if they cannot fit into one seat. So let's take a look at this TikTok and we shall discuss.
So you want to hear my hot take on plus size travel and why I think every plus size traveler should get a free second and even third seat on an airplane? Then you better keep watching and sign my petition to make some real change. Let's just state facts. Plus size travelers need more space. And many people agree that plane seats are too small, even for the average size person. As a plus size traveler myself, I know how uncomfortable and unsafe it can be to squeeze into a tiny airplane seat. We are not asking for special treatment or luxury accommodations. We simply want enough space to travel comfortably and safely without fear of being discriminated against because of our size. It's truly that simple. If you agree that every traveler deserves to fly comfortably and without fear of discrimination, then go ahead and please sign my petition and share it with everybody that you know. Let's work together to make air travel more inclusive and accommodating for everyone.
Okay. Yes, much to unpack there. What we are seeing, obviously, we have seen the normalization of obesity for quite some time in our society, in TV and movies, social media, by celebrities, influencers. We're constantly told that obesity is normal and that it's okay to be obese. But now we have elevated it to the next level to where obesity should not only be normalized, but it should be celebrated and, as this woman says, rewarded. Notice something here. Notice she said in the video, she says, we don't want special treatment. We're not asking for any kind of special treatment. But we are demanding that you give us one free extra airplane seat and maybe even two if we need it at no extra charge. I don't really know how that adds up, but they don't want special treatment. They just want an extra airplane seat because they're too fat to fit into one airplane seat. And I think it's also worth visiting her TikTok. So I found who she was and I was like, okay, let me just take a look. Here's a video of her going shopping at the grocery store.
Accessibility is for everyone.
Accessibility
no
is for everyone.
No one should feel ashamed or embarrassed for using the tools they need to navigate the world. Your worth is not determined by your size or ability.
This is Wally.
You deserve to feel comfortable and confident wherever you go. Using mobility aids is a sign of strength and self-care, not weakness or defeat. Don't let anyone make you feel otherwise. Don't let anyone else's opinions or judgments hold you back from living your life to the fullest. You are capable and
she's having
worthy
so much
of all
fun.
the
Look at her.
things you desire. Your body
okay, that's enough. We saw enough. Your body is worthy of respect and care, regardless of its size and shape. You have the right to move through the world with ease and confidence. So they've done this really good job. The fat acceptance world has done a really good job at equating your body is worthy of respect and care, which of course your body is, equating that with we should be allowed to be 500 pounds and you should flip around the whole world to accommodate us. So notice, let's go back to what she's doing in this original TikTok, demanding that the FAA, so she created a petition to have people demand the FAA to provide extra airplane seats. So translation, morbidly obese people, that is, has always been, should still be considered something that's abnormal. Morbidly obese people are demanding that a normal society turn itself upside down to cater to their abnormal needs. For all intents and purposes, we live in a normal society. Okay. Yeah. There's a lot of things about society that certainly need some work. There are some things about society that are upside down, but generally we live in a normal society where an airplane seat is the size of a normal human being. Now they want all of the airplanes and the airlines to accommodate their abnormal needs. She also has another viral TikTok where she films herself flying on an airplane and how she can't fit the seatbelt around her belly and she can't put the tray table down. And she complains about how it's just not fair that obese people are treated like second-class citizens. I can't believe I even have to say this, and everyone knows this already. If you cannot fit into an airplane seat, you're the problem. There's something wrong with you. And this is why I don't agree with the concept of, well, who cares what people do with their bodies? Who cares if people are, I don't care if you're 500 pounds. I don't care if you're trans. Just don't bother me and don't come after the kids. Yeah, obviously we don't want you coming after the kids, but I do not think that we should be okay with this behavior. I mean, if for nothing else, if just because we care about that person's soul, people think this is, they're like, what are you talking about their soul? It hurts your soul to mistreat your body at this level. To mistreat your body so much, you're constantly feeding it poison and toxins, chemicals, artificial foods. You're not nourishing your body. You have a serious metabolic disorder. I do not want to live in a society where a huge part of our country is decaying away and is suffering from the sin of gluttony. Gluttony is a sin. It's one of the 7 deadly sins, and gluttony is a sin. We should not celebrate it. We should not be okay with it. Now, whenever I talk about this, people are always like, it's so rude for you to shame them. How dare you shame them? You don't have to be so mean to them. First of all, I think shame has a useful place in our hearts individually and in society. I think shame is a useful tool. I think that people should be ashamed of certain behaviors. I think that if our society were more ashamed of certain behaviors, then maybe we wouldn't be in this mess that we're in now. I think if people were ashamed of being sexually promiscuous and having casual sex with anyone they meet at a bar, if they were ashamed of that, maybe they wouldn't do it so much. If people were ashamed of being morbidly obese and having to roll through the grocery store in a cart, in a motorized cart, if people were ashamed of that, then maybe they would take care of themselves. Maybe they would be encouraged to get healthier. Maybe they would be encouraged to not put such a strain on our healthcare system. So I think that shame has a useful place in society. However, I'm not saying that we need to be cruel to these people. I don't think that we need to throw tomatoes at them and call them nasty names and strip away their rights and treat them like animals. But I do think that we need to stop engaging with this faux compassionate behavior. If you cannot fit into an airplane seat, if you cannot walk through a grocery store, nobody owes you anything for you to do those things with ease. If you cannot function in a normal society because you have eaten yourself to a point where you're at an abnormal level of health, you do not deserve to have all of these special treatments, even though she says in the video, we don't want special treatments. You do want special treatments, and we should not give you special treatments because you have treated your body so poorly. So I'm done pretending like this is okay and that we should not shame them. I'm not saying that shaming needs to be some sort of public cruel display, but people are like, it's so mean when people look at me funny. Like, even though I'm 500 pounds, I don't like getting these bad looks at the grocery store. Like, you shouldn't be obese. Not only is it bad for you, but it's bad for our society. And it's not a good example to set to the younger generation. Like, I don't want to live in a world where I take my daughter to the grocery store and we're surrounded by morbidly obese people riding around in motorized scooters. I don't want to live in that world. I never saw the movie WALL-E, but everyone says that the beginning of it is like all of the morbidly obese people are going around in motorized carts and they're just sitting around eating junk food and playing video games. Like, I don't want to live in that world. We shouldn't want to live in that world. So that's why I'm not okay. I'm not comfortable with this concept of, well, who cares what adults do with their body? It's not bothering you. Yes, it is. The state of society does bother me. The state of society does affect me. And it's just wild that they think that society owes them something. And she's eating herself to death. That's the sad thing, is that nobody in her life cares enough. I mean, maybe they do and she just ignores them, but it doesn't seem like anybody in her life cares enough to tell her, honey, you are going to die if you continue down this path. And I don't know if this person is like genuinely serious about everything that she posts, because she's got 129,000 followers. Her whole thing is air travel for plus size people. She often does videos, like she answered a question recently that's asked, can a 600-pound person fly? How do you even get to be 600 pounds? I mean, at what point? I don't even know how you could get to 300, let alone 400, 500, 600. I don't know how you even let yourself get there. And how many people in your life hate you enough to let you get there? 600 pounds. It's not okay. Our country is a laughing stock around the world. We have some of the highest rates of obesity ever. And it's just, I don't even know what to do. Oh, I can't even look at the page. It makes me sad. I mean, it halfway grosses me out. And it also just makes me sad. Like, imagine what she has to eat to get to that point. Imagine how she feels waking up and getting out of the bed in the morning. And all the comments tell her that she's beautiful. Like, oh my gosh, I just don't understand. She says, I feel like I'm in a fairy tale. Guys, she can't walk. Oh my gosh. Oh, it's just, I can't look at it anymore. Well, that's that. If you are someone who struggles with being overweight, I understand it's not easy. I know that it's not an easy thing. You know, it doesn't happen overnight, and there's a lot of conflicting information out there and a lot of promises of fast weight loss, like the Ozempic weight loss drug, which we talked about in the previous episode, I believe it was. You can go look on my YouTube page. And I know that there's a lot of promises out there that say you're going to get skinny quickly, and none of those things really work in the long run. So if you are someone who's serious about getting your health in order, losing weight, again, click the link in my description. We have a lot of women in my group who are overweight, some who are obese. So you are not going to be the only person there. So let's switch over and talk about something a little bit different now. Let's talk about some data that has recently been released that says the number of women who have had more than 10 premarital sexual partners has nearly doubled in the last 30 years. I'm going to say that again. The number of women who have had more than 10 sex partners before marriage has almost doubled in the last 30 years. So I'm going to pull up this graph. Women's sexual partners before their first marriage. In the 1970s, more than 40% of women only had one sexual partner before their first marriage. And most of the time, that sexual partner was their future husband. That number dropped significantly until the early 2000s. Barely 20% of women only had one sexual partner before their first marriage. Now, if you look at the other numbers here, for those of you who are just listening, I'll narrate this. 15% of women in the 1970s had two sexual partners before marriage, and that dropped down to about 10% in the 2010s. But here's the statistic that is particularly harrowing. About 2%, just 2% of women in the 1970s had more than 10 sexual partners before marriage, just 2%. Fast forward to the 2000s, that number creeped up almost all the way to 20% of women have had more than 10 sexual partners before they got married. This is frightening. And I know, when we talk about body count, the conversation usually goes in the direction of red pill manosphere type of conversation, which, don't get me wrong, I think a lot of the things that they say about women and men and relationships and sexuality and femininity and masculinity are correct. I think a lot of the things they say are valid, but I approach everything from a Christian perspective. People who follow me on social media know that as well. A lot of people who are in my women's group are also approaching things from a Christian perspective. And at the end of the day, the manosphere does not approach things from a Christian perspective. So there's some things that I can't really, fully agree with from their end, but I do agree with them that it's really disheartening and disturbing the level of of casual sex and random sex and sexual partners that has increased amongst women in the last 20 to 30 years. So even just between the 1990s and the 2010s, so just in 20, 30 years, the number of women who have had more than 10 sexual partners has almost doubled. Like, wow. And why does this matter? You know, you hear a lot of liberal women who say, what does it matter how many people women have slept with before they get married? There's a lot of reasons why it matters. You know, I'll talk about it from first just a statistical point perspective that, you know, a woman who has the higher number of men that a woman has slept with before she gets married, they have a higher chance of divorce. So, for example, a woman who has 2 premarital sex partners has a 30% chance of divorce. In the 2000s, a woman who was a virgin when she got married only had a 5% chance of getting divorced after 5 years of marriage. That's a big difference. Now, in that same time frame, women who have had between 4 to 9 premarital sex partners have roughly a 25% chance of divorce, and a woman with 10 or more premarital sex partners has a 35% chance of divorce. So you compare a woman who was a virgin when she got married, she has a 5% chance of divorce, compared to a woman who has 10 or more premarital sex partners, she has a 35% chance of divorce. Even a woman who has 2 premarital sex partners has a 30% chance of divorce. So it does matter. And I totally understand why men would want to know a woman's body count before they get serious with her, because it can indicate a lot of information about a woman. It doesn't tell the full story. It doesn't tell the whole story, because I do believe genuinely in redemption and forgiveness. As a Christian, I believe in that very much. And I think that, again, when you're coming to things from a Christian perspective, a person who has a true, genuine conversion experience, true, genuine, not the girls, not the OnlyFans girls who suddenly become Christian and all of a sudden they call themselves preachers online, because that's actually a growing trend now. We should actually do a segment on that soon, of a lot of these OnlyFans girls who just flip overnight and they become evangelical Christians, and they say they're throwing away their old habits, and they just are very public about their conversion experience. No, I mean, when you genuinely come to Christ, especially through the path of the church, there is always redemption and forgiveness. Look at Saint Mary of Egypt. So Saint Mary of Egypt she has a really tremendous story, and she was a harlot from a very young age, from like 12 or 13 years old. She ran away from home, and she had countless sex partners. If I'm getting the story correctly, she was a prostitute, but there were many sexual encounters that she wasn't even paid to have sex with men. She was just a slut. By all definitions, Saint Mary of Egypt had a very sexually promiscuous history. But she is now venerated as a saint, and she is one of the major saints of converts who come into the Orthodox Church. And she has a really tremendous story. And after there was this experience she had where she felt called to go into a church. But the icon of Most Holy Theotokos, Mother Mary, when she approached the icon, she could not enter the church physically. There was something about the entrance of the church that physically blocked her from going inside. And she was very disheartened, and she got down on her knees and she prayed to Theotokos to intercede for her soul, and she begged for mercy. And she was able to enter the church, and she converted to Orthodox Christianity, and she went to live in the desert in isolation. And there's more of the story where she met a father in the desert and he gave her communion, the Eucharist, and she is now venerated as a saint. And that story is just a really tremendous reminder that a woman is not totally forever defined by her body count. However, it does matter. And I totally understand why men want to know a man's body count. So you also hear the question a lot, like, what, isn't it the same if a man has a high body count? Look, again, as a Christian, we are called to be virgins when we're married, both men and women. But you cannot deny that it is biologically different. I know this is an uncomfortable topic, but it is biologically different for a woman's body count to be higher versus a man's body count to be higher. There's a lot of reasons for that. Biologically, a woman releases more oxytocin in the brain when she has sex than a man does. And she biologically feels much more attached and has more feelings, or as the kids say, catches feelings for a man when she has sex with him. And a lot of that has to do with the fact that when a woman has sex with a man, presumably he could or does impregnate her, she needs him to protect her and her child, particularly in the 9 months that she's vulnerable and pregnant, right? So there's a biological reason for that. But secondly, going back to the church, when you look at the way that virginity is venerated in a woman, it's venerated in a very different way than in a man. Again, this is not a free pass. The manosphere will take this as a free pass for men to have multiple sexual partners, even when they're married, for men to just sleep with anybody that they're attracted to. That's not an excuse for that. But I am saying that there is a difference, that there is a very big difference in the way that virginity is venerated in women. Like a lot of the female saints in the church, many of them are venerated because they were lifelong virgins. And you don't really see saints who are men that are venerated as virgins, right? They're usually venerated because of different experiences they had, different things they accomplished when they were alive. But many of the saints are female saints are virgins, and their virginity is praised. Look at Most Holy Theotokos, Mother Mary. She was, I'm sure not everyone listening is Orthodox Christian, but for Orthodox Christians, she is known as the ever virgin. And that's one of the reasons that she is so highly venerated, because of her ever virginity. So you can't deny that there is a difference, right? There is a difference between a woman's virginity and a man's virginity, which is why there is such a big emphasis for such a long time in history that a woman, before she would go get married, that she was a virgin. So that sort of answers the question of why it matters that a man's body count is different than a woman's. Although I think that all single women should, should look for a man who is a virgin when they get married. Like that's what we're called to do, right? But you can't deny that there is a difference. So I think that these numbers are really scary, because I think that those numbers are only going to begin to rise even more and more as the next 5 to 10 or 20 years go on. However, I am a little bit encouraged, because sometimes I'll get on Instagram or TikTok just to scroll and look at what's happening in the explore section or what's trending. And I'm seeing a lot more women who are not conservative and are not even particularly religious. They're talking about the dangers of hookup culture. They're always talking about how it's harmful to women and it benefits men, and women are the ones who hold the power. And if women just stop saying yes to men for empty sex, then hookup culture will essentially end. So I think that there is a little bit of a countercultural swing happening. I hope that it's going to keep trending this way. I like to be optimistic about it. But the fact that women's sexual partners, the number of sexual partners has increased so much in the last 20 to 30 years is very concerning. And it is worrisome. And I think that we need to talk about this more. I think that women need to talk about this with their daughters when they get to an appropriate age. Fathers as well, but this is really, really a good conversation between mothers and daughters. I think we need to really equip our girls, our teenagers, when they get to the right age, to talk about the importance of protecting your sexuality, of protecting your body, because we live in a very dangerous time where our culture encourages women to be sexually promiscuous, that somehow nudity and promiscuity is equal to empowerment and self-confidence and self-love. And I think that's very dangerous. And we should be looking at these statistics. Parents need to really be looking at this data, and you need to be prepared to have this conversation with your daughters and your sons when they get to an appropriate age. Because I think one of the problems too is that we just keep like sweeping it under the rug. We don't want to talk about it. And the only people who are talking about it are like the manosphere guys or the red pill guys. And again, I agree with a lot of what they say, but at the end of the day, I don't think they talk about it in a very productive way. I think we need to talk about it more in a more productive way that's going to, number one, equip young men and women to grow up and be virtuous. And number two, to encourage women who are not living virtuous lives to change their lives and turn their lives around for the better. I think those are the two things that need to happen. And that's why we have to talk about this. If you are women out there who have had many sexual partners, again, it's not too late for you. Like, I really do believe, again, in redemption and forgiveness. But we need to really prepare the next generation. So let's talk about one more thing. Speaking of sexual promiscuity and degeneracy, Chelsea Handler is at it again. Comedian Chelsea Handler, she's 48 years old. So she found this TikTok. I don't know who this guy is. His name is Adam Sosnick. I've never heard of him, but he was talking about the statistic I've talked about before on my social media. By 2030, it's estimated that 45% of working women between the ages of 25 and 44 will be single and childless. 45% of women between 25 and 44 will be single and childless in 7 years. So he quoted the statistic, and Chelsea Handler, who, as you may have seen in February, she did this video. It was supposed to be funny. She did this video about a day in the life of a childless woman. And she says that she gets up at 12:30 in the afternoon to take an edible and to masturbate and to put on high heels because she doesn't have to run after any kids. And, you know, she's just always trying to convince people that she's happy with her life. So let's watch this video that she did. Here it is. So it's a stitch. You'll first see Adam talking and then you'll see Chelsea.
45% of working women ages 25 to 45 by 2030 will be non-married, no kids, single. Yeah. Okay. So you might say, well, what's wrong with that? Okay.
I'll tell you what's wrong with that. Nothing. I usually don't do things like this, but when I have to listen to men talk like that, I have no choice but to sedate myself with drugs and alcohol. Lately, I've been loud and proud about my status as a single, unmarried, childless, wild woman. And apparently some men cannot handle that. Every time I go on Instagram, I stumble upon SDE morons like this guy pontificating about how unhappy women like me must be.
If you think that you're going to be 45 years old, no kids, not married, and that you're going to genuinely be fulfilled in life because you made money, best of luck to you, honey.
Right. No, best of luck to you, honey. That clip was posted to an Instagram account called Alpha Motivation Zero. You got the zero part right because anybody that follows that account is getting zero Pikachu. I'm sorry, but if the child-free joyride I'm on triggers you, here's a hint. If you need daily alpha content to remind you to be alpha, you might not be an alpha. Take it from an alpha. And the truth is, studies show that single women live longer and are happier. You want to know why? Because they wake up every day and they don't have to listen to...
She looks awful, too.
...like you. Anyway, I have to go because my single, unmarried ass is about to perform at my sold-out comedy show. I'd invite you, but there are no tickets left. Bye.
Okay. Yeah. All right. Well, first of all, she's 48 years old. And first thing to even mention here is that this guy did not mention her at all in that video. He wasn't talking about her. He wasn't talking to her. And she took it so personally that she felt the need to make this video and convince people that she is deeply satisfied with her life, with no man and no babies. Okay, first of all, anyone who is truly satisfied with their life and their life choices does not need to go around and constantly shout from the rooftops that they're happy and fulfilled with their life choices. I've never seen, okay, you can correct me if I'm wrong in the comment section. I just don't think I've seen married women with children who make videos like this to convince single childless women that they are happy with their marriage and their family life. Listen, all of you single childless women out there, look how happy I am. I'm so happy. I'm gonna go cook dinner for my kids. I just don't think I've ever seen it, because people who are genuinely happy with their life choices, they don't have to stand up all the time and shout it from the rooftops. Like, if Chelsea is genuinely happy with her life, why does she need to go out of her way to respond to this random guy on the internet who wasn't talking about her, who didn't even say her name, wasn't talking to her? Why did she have to do that? And notice actually that she didn't even respond to what Adam said. She didn't respond to what he said, because what did he say? He said 45% of women between 25 and 44 are going to be single and childless by 2030. Now, why is that a problem? Okay, first of all, it's a problem because of the declining birth replacement rate. We are not going to even have humanity if we don't have more babies and replace the humans that are on Earth right now. Like, that's a problem. And secondly, you cannot deny, she shared a study that was like wrong. Okay, maybe there's one study that says unmarried women are happier, but if you look at all of the data that has been taken over the last several decades, if not more, women who are married, women who have children are physically healthier, more fulfilled, they have less mental health issues, they even live longer than their unmarried, childless counterparts. That goes for men too. Married men, actually, they say, the data says that a married man adds 5 years to his lifespan versus unmarried men. And she shared this like one rogue study that says that unmarried, childless women are happier when it's not true. You don't even need studies to tell you that. Like, of course you don't, because like, what are some of the common denominators and indicators of good health and longevity? Warm relationships, a strong sense of community. And it's very, very unlikely you're going to get that if you're living at home all by yourself with a big bottle of vodka and a couple of cats. It's so weird to me that she takes these things so personally and she feels the need to constantly convince people that she's so happy. And the excessive amount of vodka, it's like, I know it's meant to be funny, but when she does these things, she's like, my life is so fabulous. I'm going to go drink myself into oblivion and masturbate and take an edible. You have the life of an incel. Like, I know 19-year-old boys who have more exciting lives than that. Like, that's supposed to be great. And she says SDE, these guys have small dick energy. Why? Because they want women to be happy and fulfilled. Like, I just find it so sad that she responds to it by saying, my comedy show is sold out. I'm so successful. Ha, 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 ha. I'm so successful. I'm 48 and I'm alone. Here's the thing, though, guys. I mean, I don't think many people will disagree with me. I don't think that every single woman on the planet has to get married and have children. I don't think that. I don't think that every single woman is cut out for motherhood. Chelsea Handler may not be cut out for motherhood. However, I do believe that most of the women that this guy was referring to, most of the working women between 25 and 44 who are obsessed with their career, I think that they would be much happier and much more fulfilled if they got married and have kids. I do think that. I think that most of these women who have been fed the lie of society that you need to prioritize your career and be independent and you don't need no mans, and children are a burden that are going to stop you from achieving your goals in life and stop you from having hobbies and loving your life. Like, I think most of those women would be much happier if they were married and had kids. But again, not every single woman on the planet is cut out for it, just like not every single man on the planet is cut out for fatherhood and marriage. Most are, but not all of them are. However, if Chelsea were really one of those women who weren't cut out for motherhood and she knew that and she was comfortable with that and she was really comfortable with her life decisions, we would not have to see her constantly on social media trying to convince people that she's really, really happy. If my single childless life triggers you, nobody's triggered by you, Chelsea. Nobody even mentioned you in that video. It seems actually like you're the one who's triggered. And when you look into her eyes, I mean, I don't know. She doesn't look very happy to me. She doesn't look very content or fulfilled. Maybe she needs a husband. Maybe I don't know what she needs, but she doesn't look very happy to me. And I think it's sad that this is like the thing that's propped up and all the comments are like, you go, girl. Look at you. You're so independent. I'm 45 years old. I never needed a husband. Okay, all right. Why do you have to try to convince us all the time that you're happy then, if you're happy with that choice? I don't get it. Like, I know I have a couple of friends, not many, 2 friends, one who's in her 50s and she's married but never wanted kids. She's actually content with her life and she doesn't need to go around on social media and convince people that she is. It's always a red flag when people have to get online and try to convince you and say, I'm happy, okay? I'm so happy. I'm happy. I'm really happy. It's usually a red flag. Anyway, so ladies, don't forget to click the link in the description of this video. Join the Shift community. We host it on Mighty Networks every Monday at 6 p.m. Eastern. We do a live workout. If you can't make it, all of the workouts are recorded that you can go back and watch them and do them on your own time. Every Thursday, we do an exclusive webinar that's usually focused on health and wellness. Sometimes we'll toss in some cultural issues. Every Tuesday is a recipe share day. Always doing health challenges. Like I said before, we're in the middle of a really great squat challenge to help you with better mobility, less chronic pain, better movement in general. And we've got some great health challenges coming up for the rest of the year. So join us if you are serious about getting healthy, improving your life, and if you want to talk about cultural issues from a woman's perspective in a way that's actually useful without all the outrage culture. So thanks. Bye.